By the end of this week, Indianapolis will be the center of Swiftie mania. I ought to get more of a reaction than that. I presume you all have your tickets. Don't look for me in the crowd. With over 200,000 people descending upon our city for the Taylor Swift concerts at Lucas Oil Stadium. All with the same mindset and attitude of, I want to see. Of course, what will take place here next weekend has nothing to do with the gospel today. But the sentiment of all those visitors who will be coming to our city will be the same as it was for Bartimaeus, the blind man in today's gospel, when he said, Master, I want to see. But what the Swifties want to see is not that is intended by the gospel, nor is it what we should want to see by having our eyes opened by our worship here today. Of course, we all want to see. But what we seek here is to see through the eyes of faith. And Jesus makes this clear in the gospel when, after he had healed the blind beggar, he told him, Go your way. Your faith has saved you. Seeing with the eyes of faith is very different from what we would see in Lucas Oil Stadium next weekend. Rather, seeing with the eyes of faith is to cast our gaze upon the Lord, who gave himself and who loves us totally and completely, without hesitation or any reservation. This total love of Christ for us is often portrayed in the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and is expressed in the devotion that is given to the Sacred Heart. A devotion that has evolved over the centuries. When I was young, eons ago, it was quite popular. But today it has declined in popularity, some in later years. However, devotion to the Sacred Heart has recently seen some increase. And to give it credibility and to encourage devotion, Pope Francis last week issued an encyclical letter. Now, an encyclical is the highest form of teaching that a pope can give that is not infallible. So, this letter has quite a bit of importance for the church. But this encyclical letter is titled in Latin, Dilexit Nos, meaning he loved us. Dilexit Nos, he loved us. I will admit that I have evolved in my own feelings and thought about Sacred Heart devotion over the years. I came to regard it as kind of strange, the image at least, of an open heart on the chest of Jesus with blood pouring forth and with the crown. But I have come now to believe that it can be a meaningful and fruitful devotion for our spiritual life when we see it with the eyes of faith. The heart, the human heart, as we know, and as the Pope wrote, has become a symbol of personal intimacy And certainly we see this around Valentine's Day, don't we? We send Valentine's cards with hearts all over the place. We give candy boxes in the shape of a heart and everything. But the Pope says it has become a symbol of personal intimacy, of affection, of emotional attachment, and a capacity for love. And he went on to say, we must never forget that the image of the heart speaks to us of the flesh and of earthly realities. And in this way, he said, the heart points us to the God who wished to become one of us. Points us to God who wished to become one of us, a part of our history, and a companion on our earthly journey. We see this love of God in the image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, who gave himself totally in love for us. In the Sacred Heart, the Pope said, we find the whole gospel. Jesus, who gave himself in love, a synthesis of the truths of our faith, the Pope said, all that we adore and seek in faith, all that responds to our deepest needs. This is nothing else, my friends, than what Jesus told the blind beggar in the gospel. Go your way, your faith has saved you. And the gospel concludes by saying, immediately he received his sight and followed him on the way. Sisters and brothers, Jesus calls us today to do the same thing as we gather here to celebrate this liturgy, to celebrate God's love for us in the sacrament of the Eucharist. No longer do we see simply as human beings, but because we are here, our eyes are opened by faith. Now we seek to follow the Lord in all that we do in our daily lives, especially in our relationships with others, in our homes, our schools, our workplaces, wherever we may find ourselves. And so, touched by the Sacred Heart of Jesus, we go forth from here seeing with the eyes of faith, seeking always to serve the Lord who gave himself in love for us.